O hidden life, vibrant in every atom, O hidden light, shining in every creature, O hidden love, embracing all in oneness, may each who feels himself as one with thee know he is also one with every other.
Thank you, Malti. We now have our interreligious prayers and we begin with the Gayatri Mantra. Malti?
Yes. Om Bhurбhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Bhurбhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Bhurбhuvasvaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Na Prachodaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityoma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
Thank you, Malati.
Welcome.
We now have the Zoroastrian prayer by Freni.
Thank you. Shri Pak Dadar Auramazvani Madad Hojoji Gorje Kore Avajiad Pak of Shun Shahe Faredun Vapak Beram Yazet Panabad Ham Jartosh Ti Madadgar Ham Papi Negedar of Shun Shahe Faredun Vapak Beram Yazet Madadgar Yatha Ahu Vairyo Yatha Ratush Ashachithacha Vanghe Ush Dazdau Meningo Shote Nanam Angyus Mazdai Shatrem Chai Ahurai Aim Drigopyo Dadatavastarahem Yatha Ahu Vairyo Yatha Ratush Ashachithacha Vanghe Ush Dazdau Meningo Shote Nanam Angyush Mazdai Shatrem Chai Ahurai Aim Drigobyo Dadatavastarahem Ashem Vahu Vahishtam Vasti Usta Asti Usta Ahmai Yadeshai Vahishtai Hashem Sarosh Yazad Nipana Hojoji. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have the Christian prayer by Deepti.
O Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us today our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not unto temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever.
Thank you, Deepti. We now have Gulu Advani, the Sikh prayer. Gulu?
Satnam Karta Purakh Nirbhav Nirvair अकाल मूरत अजूनी सैभं गुर प्रसाद जप आद सच जुगाद सच है भी सच नानक हो से भी सच सोचे सोच न होवई जे सोचे लखवार चुप चुप न होवई जे लाए रहा लिवतार बुखिया बुख न उतरी जे बन्ना पुरिया भार सहस्याणा पालक होवई त एक न चले नाल किव सचियारा होइए किव कूरे टुटे पाल हुक्म रजाई चलना नानक लिखिया नाल वाहिगुरु जी दा खालसा वाहिगुरु जी दी फतेह बोले सो निहाल सत श्री अकाल.
Thank you, Gulu. I now request Mr. Janaki Ram to kindly introduce our esteemed speaker.
Good evening, everyone. I have the pleasure to introduce a very eminent speaker, Yadavindra Chopra. We all know it is human nature to know about the future more from the angle of not only curiosity, whether we can take any action to see that whatever is destined, can it be either if it is good, can it be awaited eagerly or changed if possible. So we have a speaker who is highly qualified to talk on this subject because all of us know astrology is a science, but today we will get to know more about it because Yadavindra Chopra learned Vedic astrology from his father and Tattva Bodha from his guru. And most of us have been brought up with terminologies like dharma, karma, atma, then destiny, fate, and he has combined with Vedic astrology and Tattva Bodha in a way to help people through coaching and consultancy. I went through his website and studied and found out that he has an international clientele from all over the world. So we are very lucky to have him speak to us. Speaking on a personal note, when I came to Bangalore soon after I passed engineering in 1970, I consulted a famous astrologer. And like any normal young graduate who passed out will be curious. And he gave it in writing how my life will turn out to be and what my career would be. And all of them, I should say, have come true very much. But Yadavindra Chopra has written a book beyond prediction. In fact, I went to Amazon and read that also. It's available on Amazon, both Kindle version and hard copy. And where he says, while astrology predicts, but as you know, Purusartha or self-effort, by that we can also change it and taking help from people like him, who is highly qualified to coach and guide, we can actually change our path if it is required. So with that, we are all very eagerly looking forward. And now I hand over to Sajani.
Thank you so much, Mr. Janaki Ram. And now it's over to Mr. Chopra. It's over to you, sir.
Good evening. I'm very grateful to be a part of this satsang. I actually I went through the website of Ancient School of Wisdom. It has rich history, and I've been hearing about this school for quite some time. Like many people here, they believe that if something has to happen, it just comes knocking on your door. So I'm truly grateful for this opportunity. Today I'm going to talk about one aspect of astrology. If we get into this vast subject, it will be a very long time. So the aspect that I'll be talking about astrology is Grahas, which is a very, very important part of astrology, especially in the Vedic astrology. Grahas, usually when we hear that term, we are thinking about planets. But in reality, it is not the planets. Planets are just the vehicles for the energies which are beyond our sense perception. Just like the way we look at the clock and we look at the three hands to determine what time does the clock tell us. It's actually only representing that actual time which is beyond our comprehension. So the planets are something like that. Now the grahas, interestingly, the term graha, grahan, comes from the meaning of seizing, to seize something, grahan kar lena. So what it tells us is that there are energies which are beyond our sense perception, which seize us. It seizes us and makes us be in a certain way, speak a certain way, do certain things. And because of that, we get enveloped into the karmic cycle. Why? Because we identify ourselves with those actions and the way we are feeling and the way we react and respond, not knowing that it is not really us in the true sense of spirituality. Now, grahas, when they talk about seizing, actually there is, my guru told me, graha actually means crocodile. The way crocodile catches you, it just sits there and looks, and it just chapat lena ekdam, and it just seizes you, seizes existing, because those are just modes. But there is something which is beyond that, these forces which are very mysterious. And in the Indian school of astrology, the Vedic astrology, the sages have spoken about nine grahas, which means 9 forces of nature which influences humanity. It's very, very important to understand that these forces influence humanity on an individual level. And they influence in 3 ways. They influence the events in our life. They influence our physical appearance. And most importantly, they influence our mind. The way our mindset is highly influenced. This is one of the reasons when someone looks at a chart, actually that chart is giving a perception of which is beyond our sense perception. The sages with their meditative abilities and dhyan and contemplation could apprehend that world which we cannot ordinarily see or perceive. And they devised a way with a diagram with 12 houses and apprehending the nature of these 9 grahas, and then placing the physical planets, allocating those qualities to these planets, and somehow grasping exactly what is going on and how it could be influencing. So most of the time we are familiar with the predictive part, which is the events. How will the grahas influence events in our life? So we are always wanting to know what will happen tomorrow, what will happen tomorrow. One of the most important query that I always come across when I consult people is, Mera kya hoga, what will happen, kal kya hoega in the future. And mere dad the, he was a very prominent astrologer way back in 1980s. His name was Moderator Chopra. In fact, he became quite popular. He had been to the US, he traveled, he consulted many senators, congressmen, then later on decided to migrate there. And he was always focusing on these events, the predictions. And I was very young, and I used to see him, how he navigates and how he predicts and how he arrives at the conclusions. But if you read, if any of you happen to read my book, you will understand why I decided to take a slight different turn. Instead of focusing on the events and predicting the future, I went on to the way they influence the mind, more psychological aspect of astrology, which is very less known. I think one doesn't connect astrology with psychology, but actually there's a very deep connection. So agar if you happen to read the book, in that major part of it is about my life and my dad's life, and how, in spite of him being so good at deciphering the influences and predict the events not only for others, including his own life, he realized it was finally didn't happen the way he wanted, and that was a turning point which made me realize that these grahas are actually conscious beings of a different realm. So when we are interfacing with them through the technology of astrology and thinking that ki humko malum pad jayega, now we know Mangal is like that, or Saturn is like that, or Jupiter is dasha, or so we know kaise hoega. So then we can align ourselves and somehow move in that direction so that we can take advantage of the knowledge. What I realized through seeing my dad was that these grahas are also watching you and they are also studying you. I'm telling you, it is something which really opened up my mind when I closely observed. मेरी book में सब लिखा है मैंने. And what happened was that when you go on interpreting the astrological significances about the future, there is one grave mistake you make. A lot of astrologers don't know that, but some people who reflect understand that actually all the future events which are influenced by the grahas actually begin from the mindset, because not only they influence the events, not only they influence your physical appearances or physical experiences, whatever, but also the mindset. So when we focus only on the future, how will we, do remedy or somehow tune ourselves to events, we totally miss out on the growth inside, the psychological growth, spiritual growth, the growth of the soul. And if we understand the nature of these grahas, and if we focus more on ourselves than the future, what I have come to discover and understand, and I keep seeing it in my consultation, is that no matter what kind of horoscope you're born with, if you're able to tune in your psychological understanding of these grahas, that means you start communicating with these grahas in a certain way, your future automatically changes. You don't have to do any kind of external acts, rituals or something. It's not mandatory. Why? Because when the grahas are watching you, and if they know that you have been able to comprehend their existence and there is a rapport that gets built up, just like you would build up a rapport with somebody whom you know, actually whatever influence that they could possibly have in your life will also change. It's the same logic. Now, I'm going to talk about these 9 grahas, somewhat to give you a perception of who they are and possibly how are they influencing your mind. How I will do that is I will speak of the 9 grahas, which are prominent in the Vedic astrology, and tell you, suppose an individual has one of these grahas dominating the horoscope, dominating not only the events, not the physical, but the mindset. If that particular graha is dominating the mindset of an individual, how will they be, and how will their nature be? It will express it. And that, as I speak, there's a good chance you might actually start seeing either within you or around you some similarities. And you say, acha, okay, that means this graha is dominating in this person's life, this graha is dominating this person's life. So now there are 9 grahas. So I'll go through, I'll name all the 9 and then I'll go through them one by one. First is Surya, which is sun. Second is Chandra, which is moon. And then you have Budh, which is Mercury. Then you have Shukra, which is Venus. Then you have Mangal, which is Mars. Then you have Guru, which is Jupiter. Then you have Shani, very, very popular Graha, which is Saturn. And unlike the regular Western form of astrology, in Hindu we have 2 more. ये तो 7 हो गए. Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. 2 और है. Now these 2 other grahas which the rishis could comprehend about their existence don't have any physical body, and there are many folk stories are there which try to explain why that would be so. But to the point of astrology, they are represented as an imaginary point. 2 of them. One is Rahu, one is Ketu. And इनका physically जब देखें तो how we perceive them is during eclipse. Solar eclipse is showing the presence of Rahu. The lunar eclipse is showing the presence of Ketu, because the imaginary point at which an eclipse occurs is Rahu. That is where Rahu is. It is hidden from us, even physically. And at which there is moon eclipse, lunar eclipse, that imaginary point is Ketu's. Now I'll tell you one by one about the grahas. Now, from my dad, what I understood, and then later from my guru, who initiated me into Atma Tattva, Atma Bodh, to knowledge of the self, which is quite a miraculous bit of knowledge. So, क्या मुझे बताया गया था कि the grahas don't look at the planets, the grahas, the archetypical beings in a different realm, उनकी एक hierarchy है. In their world, the Surya is the king. It is the king of that realm. It is the one on the throne. It is the one who is in power. It is the one whose will is always implemented. It is the one who is ruler, and it is the one who has the biggest ego of all. So, when somebody is under the influence of Surya in their horoscope, whether it is aspecting their ascending sign, or it is the ascending sign belongs to Surya, or the ascendant lord is somewhere in conjunction with Surya, and if it is very strong, what you will see is that individual will have a mindset of a lot of self-confidence and power. Samko malum nahi hai, but they will feel always very dominating. They will feel unki chalni chahiye har jagah. They will feel they can come across any situation and they can handle it. Somehow they have that persona of regality. They would want to be very flamboyant. एक और बात है, king क्या करता है उस realm में? King only sits on the throne and dishes out order. So when a person is under the influence of sun, also makes you a slightly lazy person. In the sense, many people who I have seen who have this influence of Surya and so they will be thinking, "Ki I'm very big, I'm very good, everything should be revolving around me." But perception of people around them will be thinking, "Ye to lazy aadmi hai, kuch karta nahi hai. He or she keeps saying things, but they don't really do." And that is primarily because of this disposition of the sun. Surya is the king. It gives you that persona of somehow things should be done for me by others, and I should just dictate and things should just happen. Or kabhi, now another thing which I wanted to say is, I'll not go too much into depth, but all the 9 grahas, they come under the Maya. That means they come under the influence of the gunas, which is Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. I hope many of you understand that these are 3 modes of existence in the physical realm, or in the realm of where their existence, whether it is our physical existence or a metaphysical existence. So Rajas hota hai, it gives you your qualities of balance, very sattvic, very just, the right amount. Rajas kind of takes you off balance, excessiveness, opulence, too much of it. Tamas is exactly the opposite. It kind of creates depletion. It kind of erodes the positive qualities. So Surya bhi agar kisi ko influence, if it is influencing somebody, if it is in Sattva, so in a horoscope you can make out, you can see through different influences and the placement of the planet to see, is it Sattvic Surya, is it Rajasic Surya, or is it Tamasic Surya? So now Sattvic Surya would possibly make a person very self-reliant, naturally egoistical, but because Sattva hai, balanced ego, will have a very strong willpower. The person will have a very strong willpower. Maybe act, because Sattva, it is balanced, so the person will actually act also. Like a good, just king who also does things, not only gives orders. If it is Rajasic, too much ordering. Bahut ego aega, a lot of ego, very resistant to any change, resistant to other people's opinion. Because willpower, overly determined, stubbornness will become the nature of the Rajasic Surya. When it is Tamasic Surya, it actually becomes oppressive. So it's not only कि मेरी मनमानी करनी है, I want people to do, I expect people to do, but you actually start trespassing other people's boundaries as well. तो वो इंसान फिर बहुत अपने आप को push करेगा on other people to make them do. Like sometimes you might have a boss who's just, probably he's insecure about something or she's insecure about something, but just puts the whole thing on the juniors and wants them to do and wants the credit. That would be a Tamasic Surya. Now coming back to the second Graha, with Chandra. Now in that realm, when you have a king, you have a queen. So Chandra is the queen. Ab queen ka kya hai ki she, as a queen in that realm, enjoys the power and the regality of the king. So usually when it is influencing an individual, they might actually feel, now the sun wanted other people to do it. Moon expects, hoping and wishing other people will do things for them. Not necessarily it makes you lazy, but it kind of makes you a little bit dependent. Moon jo hai, kind of gives you more of qualities which are looking for others to take care of you, help you out. Moon also rules your childlike nature within you. Like people talk about the inner child. So Moon would, Chandra would rule that. It would influence a person's inner child. So apeksha aane ki, things will be done. And it's a very sattvic planet in its nature. So when Chandra is very influential, it makes you very emotional. So unlike the Surya, the Chandra is very emotional, gets very easily disturbed if others don't do things for you, because it is looking at that act of not doing as not being loved. Where Surya is looking at act of not doing something is disrespectful. So both alag-alag hai. They are two different mindsets. So when Chandra is influencing, dominating your nature, it would make you also very open-minded. Surya, who's on the throne like a king, wants consistency and certainty, wants one thing at a time, jo karna hai, wohi karna hai, and it should be done in a way where it increases my respect. Whereby the Chandra ka nature hota hai, it's not about my respect, it's about me being loved. And it also matches the expectations of others. So it makes you want to change your mind. It makes you want to, if you're with one person who's showing you care and love, then you will imbibe what they like. You will feel that that is what I also want. Then suppose as child, so you go to your mom is saying something, you feel that's what I want. Then you go to your dad, that is very being kind to you, being very nice to you, and what your dad wants, then Chandra will make you want that also. So usually people around, when they see somebody who's got a dominant Chandra, they feel what fickle hai, keeps changing their mind. Actually, it's not a negative thing. It's just the nature of Chandra. If Chandra influence kar raha hai, you will not be able to make up your mind. It will keep going like waves, because it's highly sensitive. It will keep reading the environment around with people, and it will keep changing. But somehow, because it is the queen in that realm, you will not feel very ambitious, because in that realm where the king is the one who's sitting on the throne, queen is just enjoying the power indirectly through the king. So when moon is influenced, a person likes to sleep a lot, would like to enjoy life, would like to have good food, good time, friends, do things in creativity, just to be appreciated for the sake of being. So it doesn't make you so ambitious. Now we come to the third Graha, which is Buddh, Mercury. Now in that realm, you have the king, you've got the queen. The Buddh, there are two ways of looking at Buddh. One is prince. He's a prince. That means he belongs to both of them, and he is going to be the heir to the throne. But Abhi, he's not in that realm. He's a perpetual heir. He'll never become the king. So uska ek bhavna hai. He has one way of being, very playful. So Buddh, when it is very influential, it very, very dominant in your chart, especially in your ascending, in respect to your ascendant, it will make you very jovial, very outgoing, wants to flaunt around whatever that you have. It gives you the gift of the gab. So Buddh gives you the ability to speak, whereby Chandra gives you the ability to emote. A person whose Chandra is very strong will be very emotional, very sensitive, will be able to detect emotions not only within themselves, also in others. So it gives you a very nurturing, very maternal bent of mind. That's why very good counselors I've seen have very good placement of moon in the horoscope. Whereby sun, Surya jo hota hai, Surya is more about leadership. King hai, so he will be indifferent to what others want. He just wants what he wants, as long as it can give the respect to his purpose. So Mercury gives the ability to express yourself, talk like a prince, go around. And then, so if somebody whose Buddh is very dominating, they will be able to grasp the outer reality. Now, Chandra mein, it is very internalized. A person gets very sensitive to their own emotions and the emotions of others. But Buddh hota hai, Buddh is not so much about emotions. It is more about facts and logic. And it also speaks about, it rules the speech, the verbal world. So, conversations that when each time you're having a conversation with somebody, without your knowledge, it's your Buddh which is participating in your life. And if your Buddh is very strong, it will make you a very talkative person, sometimes a very good talker. Now, Chandra mein bhul gaya, if it is Sattvic, it will make you very emotionally intelligent. That is what Sattvic Chandra does. If it is Rajasic, it makes you very moody, like very moody. You will keep oscillating between your moods, and you have these huge mood swings. If it is in Tamasic state, it makes you depressed. Actually, your emotions get suppressed. So you stop, you have emotions, but you don't know what to do with them. You don't know how to deal with them, and they kind of go into a state of depression. That's why when you look at from mental health, I've seen time and again a person who's suffering from long period of depression or any kind of emotionally related mental health, check the moon, and then somehow moon requires a little bit of help. Now, when you look at Buddh, when it is Sattva, it gives you the gift of the gap. You can really talk well. You can really talk well, whether you're really feeling the same or not, but whatever that you want to convey to others, that's why to be able to persuade others. Sometimes there are people who can really talk you into something. They can really sell the idea. They can just engage you in conversation. Their Buddh is very strong, mostly. And if they are able to grasp ideas, like in school, so preschool's age of the child is all Chandra. वो घर में mom के पास, dad के पास, घर के environment में, it's all about emotions and all about the child. And the moment child goes out, joins school, suddenly you have to learn things, concrete things, letters, and numbers, and do's and don'ts. So ये Mercury बहुत important होता है. तो वो comprehend करना outer reality को. Now, if Buddh is Sattva, it gives you all those qualities. If it is Rajasic, it makes you sometimes misuse your abilities of your talking and your intellect thinking. So it could make you, sometimes mislead others. Sometimes in sales, people do that. Or you can really go on selling ideas without really thinking on the moral angle of it, because Mercury, जो बुध है, बुध is not about ethics and morality. It's only about fun. So fun के लिए कुछ भी बोलता है. So in Rajasic, it will make you a very flamboyant talker and engage and sell ideas, not really keeping in mind of any moral limitation. When it is in Tamasic mode, अगर आपके chart में बुध depleted है, tamas में है, फिर speech problems. People will have problem with the speech. या उनके जो बात करना है, what they want to convey ना, they will not be able to convey. They will find it very difficult to convey their ideas. A lot of kids, a lot of times I've seen some of the kids who are, there's this condition, where a child is not able to, they understand, but they are not able to communicate. I forgot the condition. Autism. So many times I've noticed in autistic children, Mercury is in a very bad shape. So क्या होता है? They know, उनको emotionally probably they can understand, they're able to grasp, but somehow both interruption हो जाती है. So they are not able to download the outer reality inside, and they have a lot of struggle with their ideas, how to put them and how to. One of the major traits I have seen when Buddha is in tamasic mode. Okay, so now next is Shukra, Venus. In that realm, Shukra is the courtier, the one who manages the affairs of the court. It is like your Man Friday. It is the one who makes sure things are going smooth, they're going fine, harmony is being maintained, everything is okay. The PR person of that celestial court. So that's why जब Shukra किसी के ऊपर बहुत, it's very strong, you will notice that person is very, very friendly, knows how to develop a relationship well. Whereby जो बुध होता है, it's about transaction. I'll give you this idea, you do this for me, and it's a little bit more practical, more rational. But जो शुक्र ग्रह जब किसी के ऊपर प्रभावित होता है, when it is dominant, it doesn't make a person very practical. They like to be pleasant. They might still be very good in talking, but the talking will not be so to the point, but it will go around about your interests and about your family, makes a person more interested in developing long-term relationships. Venusian Shukra jo hota hai, it makes a person want to cultivate long-term and many relationships. It also gives you the ability to sense aesthetics in life. So some people, when you see some people who just know what to wear, or they have very good taste in food, they have very good taste in music, very good taste in dressing, anything that can add beauty, that is Shukra. और वही उस realm में शुक्र का काम होता है to just make everything beautiful, very pleasant. So it looks like hotels. It looks perfect, impeccable. Now, when Shukra is in Sattva, again balanced, so it will make a person very pleasant. It will make a person very tasteful. You will come across this person and you will feel something very nice about them. अगर वो Shukra is in Rajasic mode, वो फिर you will feel the person is a little bit indulgent. तो वो क्या होता है? The person might overly indulge in their aesthetic sense of life. So they might actually, hoard things in their house with paintings and artifacts. Actually, I've personally seen when Shukra in someone's horoscope is more Rajasic, they have too many things in their life. All are very beautiful, but too many of them. If it is in Tamasic mode, Shukra, so if that Tamasic Shukra is influencing a person's ascendant, it actually makes them very aesthetic sense रहेगा, but more cheapness आ जाता है. They will go for things which are imitations. So they will also, as individual, what they will do is they will look at somebody. Suppose they look at somebody on the TV. So they have this taste. They want to be able to come across very stylish and present, but they will imbibe those qualities from them and replicate it within themselves. And sooner or later, you realize there is a lot of artificiality in their personality. So then, now next comes Mangal, Mars. And in that realm, in the realm of Grahas, Mars is army general. वो होता है the one who actually protects the kingdom, protects the king and the queen and the family. वो बहुत rigid and very rash. So when a person is under the influence of Mangal, usually that person will be very undiplomatic, very raw, very direct, very bold. क्योंकि जो army general होता है, its priority is not to be in the society and be with the society, but to protect the society from the enemy. So it gives the mindset to an individual to be very, very rash. And it also makes a person very ambitious. Now, जो सूर्य था, वो भी ambitious होता है, but doesn't really want to do things because it is sitting on the throne. But when somebody is under the influence of Mangal, वो soldier है, general है, army man है, so he actually makes a person want to go and get their target. They will set goals, they will have a very strong drive, and they will pursue relentlessly. If it is in Sattvic, that is what it will be. It will be very balanced. It will make a person very courageous, very bold. They will stand for what they believe in. They will chase after whatever they want. If it is Rajasic, sometimes they can become overly confident, overly optimistic, and become very reckless. If it is in Tamasic mode, a lot of frustration. So under they will have a lot of pent up. So sometimes you see some people who really don't want to go and pursue the goal, but they will probably start throwing a lot of tantrum at home or get very frustrated, blaming everything in the world that is coming in their way. That kind of gives you the negative tamasic influence of Mangal. That kind of person is very temperamental, extremely temperamental. Next comes Guru. Now, Guru in the celestial realm is the preceptor of the king. He is the one who gives Surya advice. किस चीज का advice? On niti, on dharma. So Guru in that celestial realm is the knower of dharma. He is knowing what is even beyond their realm. So हम हैं, beyond us is probably the realm of Grahas, the celestial beings, and in their world, Guru is the one who knows that even beyond us there is a power. That's why it makes you very religious. So जब Guru का प्रभाव होता है, when Guru is very strong and influencing you, you will be more religiously inclined. Somehow you know that in the scheme of things there is role of higher powers. That's why astrology, Jyotish, is ruled by Guru to be able to perceive the metaphysical. So when you are under the influence of Guru, you will see larger things, broader things. You will not get so caught up in the small mundane things of this world. So you will feel an individual with a very strong guru will be a little bit easygoing, more long-term thinking, will not get reactive very easily. Somehow उनकी perception होती है. Guru influences a person's mindset to be able to see the long picture. And Jyotish मैं क्यों बोल रहा हूँ is also because Guru is future. Guru is the seer. So it is the one who tells the Surya, आगे मुझे दिखता है सब कुछ. So you do the way you are supposed to do so that you meet the requirement of dharma. Now, when somebody is under the influence of Guru, वो naturally dharmic होंगे. They somehow know the sense of ethics and morality. They may not study, they may not really sometimes follow to the bit of religion, but they will understand the gist of religion. So they will have a very spiritual mind. If it is rajasic, then sometimes they can become very strong promoters of religion. So speakers who become very religiously inclined and want to influence, they want to define God. So the optimism hai, Guru, when it is in rajasic mode, it really wants to get their ideas out in form of influencing others about how beautiful life is, how optimistic life is, never say die attitude. So rajasic hai because jo sattvic hai, it is balanced. You cannot be always positive. So Guru who's in sattva understands ki I need to be positive, I need to be optimistic, but I know there are things which there is a limit. I cannot go beyond that. But when it's in rajasic, it just goes overboard with optimism. Agar it is in tamasic mode, तो वो फिर थोड़ा सा it kind of gives you loss of hope, kind of makes you. So again, interestingly, people who have a bent of mind towards depression or melancholy or faith अगर उड़ गया, there are some people who feel कि अभी दुनिया से faith ही उड़ गया है. There's nothing more to do in life. There's nothing. जो भी सिखाया है, whatever that I've been taught about God or spirituality or about life, really doesn't matter. So that will be the tamasic Guru. Guru man khalega, agar if it is in tamasic mode. So because it is giving you that, when it is depleted, it makes you lose hope. Now comes Shani, which is very popular because Saraswati is there, Yalrata Shani for the South Indians. ये जो planet है, in the Graha जो है उनके realm में, he is the judge. वो क्या करता है? He is the one. So the king is sitting on the throne. Then you've got the queen, you've got the prince, you've got the courtier who's managing all the PR affairs. Then you've got the general, then you've got the preceptor. Now, if someone doesn't follow dharma, if someone doesn't follow their nature or the rule of law, then what? So then comes punishment. So Shani is the judge. It is the one which gives out punishments. It gives out your karmic results. So इसलिए it is a कर्म कारक. Shani जो है उस realm में वो बहुत indifferent है. Now as judiciary, as the head of judiciary, judge होता है, it's at par with the king. So उनकी enmity रहती है. But on a human level, we are very apprehensive and scared of Shani because it is the one responsible to make us feel pain and sorrow. Agar किसी का Shani is influencing their ascendant lord or ascendant, it will make that person a bit like a judicial mind. So they will keep evaluating, they'll be very prudent, they will look at everything tol mol ke, very, very careful. They will want to be very scrutinizing, they'll be very very considerate and very deliberative. A person who's got Shani, you cannot get through them through talking, you cannot get them through flattery, you cannot get them through gifts, you cannot get them through faith, you cannot get them through power. The only way you can get through a person who's got Shani influencing them is actually to do what they expect you to do. So it's all merit based. So Shani, when Shani is influencing you, you believe that you need to do everything on merit. You need to get get yourself out there and do the laborious work, no matter how much time it takes. So it's discipline. It instills discipline. आपको शनि बहुत discipline देगा अगर वो सातवां में है. अगर राजस्व में है, so then राजस्व क्या होता है, it kind of makes you a bit more critical. तो मतलब वो फिर दूसरों को जज करवाता है. So I'm fine, I'm very disciplined, but then you look at others and you will keep finding faults with others. They will keep saying ki this person doesn't know how to do things, this person is too laid back, this person is too wasteful. So that is the rajasic. Tamasic is where the blame comes on themselves. Very self-critical person. Shani jo hota hai, when it is in tamasic mode, kabhi dekhengi aap, some person, no matter how good they do, they always feel they are doing much worse than they feel others are doing, even though they are probably doing much better than others. Very self-critical. So these are the 7 grahas from Surya, Chandra, Budh, Shukra, Mangal, Guru or Shani. Now, दो और बाहरी ग्रह आते हैं, that is Rahu and Ketu. Now, Rahu and Ketu in that realm, they are not part of the court. From Sun all the way till Saturn, they are all part of the court. Rahu and Ketu are not part of the court. Now, क्या बोलते हैं कि they want to destabilize the court. So Rahu is a graha who is looking for an opportunity to somehow destabilize the system. So जब राहु का influence होता है, suppose you're running, you're having a Rahu influence on your ascendant, or you're having any connection on your ascendant lord, राहु क्या करेगा ना? राहु will आपको जो करना चाहिए उससे अलग करेगा. It will make you think out of the box. बहुत ही उल्टा करवाएगा. It will, so according to their world, राहु is a malefic, बहुत ही malefic planet है, क्योंकि वो आपको पूरा disintegrate कर देता है usually. But उसके एक तरीका होता है. So what it does is it makes you get a lot of gratification. मतलब वो पैसे का मालिक है. So it makes you very indulgent and wanting a lot of money. So जब किसी के ऊपर राहु का प्रभाव होता है, you will find the person is very materialistic. They only want money. They want a lot of luxury, a lot of power, everything a lot. मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा. And that kind of a person, it's very difficult to deal with, because वो सब जो other ग्रह हैं उनको बिल्कुल it's totally going on the opposite side. So if Rahu किसी के साथ conjunction में है Sun, then it will make a person superly arrogant. अगर उसके साथ Moon के साथ है तो highly emotional, highly unstable. अगर Mercury के पास है, it can make a person very big crook. If it is with Venus, then person can be very, very flamboyant and misuse their assets of, aesthetics. And if it is Mars, then it can make a person extremely bold. मतलब बहुत जबरदस्त bold. And if it is with Guru, then it will make a person a very, misleading Guru. Like it will make a person very misleading, optimistic to others. And if it is with Saturn, then वो बहुत ही cruel करा देगा. It makes a person very, very cruel and very judgmental. So disturb कर देता है सब ग्रहास को. Now इसमें तत्वा भी है, राजस भी है, and tamas भी है. Suppose if it is तत्वा, कभी-कभी राहु, even though it is not such a great planet to be around with, अगर वो आपको influence कर रहा है, it is सात्विक mode, तो वो आपको क्या करेगा? क्योंकि logic है in that realm, it is the one who wants to destabilize the court. It wants to destabilize the system. That means it knows too much about the system to be able to destabilize it. So when Rahu in Sattva, what it does, it will give you epiphanies. वो suddenly आपको निर्वाण ले आएगा. It will make you know things which no one has ever thought about. So it can really radically open up your mind to a great extent. If it is in Rajas, again, typical qualities, it will make you extremely materialistic, very selfish, very corrupt. आपको बहुत influence डाल देगा. उस किस्म के इंसान से you find it, कि वो बहुत ही मतलबी है. If it is in tamasic mode, फिर वो मतलब it will make a person very छुपा हुआ, मतलब very concealing their ideas and अंदर ही अंदर. So this, when Rahu is in tamasic mode, वो क्या करेगा? It will not make a person pursue materialism, but खो देगा अपनी ख्वाबों में. Person can totally recluse in their own mind. So you might come across a person like that and feel, okay, this person is living in their own world. You come across people like that, and somehow Rahu is influencing their ascendant, and it is in tamasic. Now Ketu also is having the same agenda to destabilize. Now Rahu wants to fulfill that agenda by corrupting all the other grahas. So ये जो corruption होती है ना, when we talk about corruption in the world, corruption in government, corruption, this is all Rahu's energy. It is the one which feeds into your gratification and makes you do wrong. Ketu, on the other hand, doesn't do that. Ketu क्या करेगा? It's very extremely critical. So it will start. It is like a sage in the not the sage. It is more a ascetic, yogi, sadhu. So वो बोलेगा कि your system of court and royalty and civilization itself is of no use. It ultimately, there is no point in being with that. So when person is under the influence of Ketu, the person will become a renunciate. The person will feel क्या मतलब है जीना दुनिया में. So then they will want to get away from their worldly life. So Ketu is a mokshkarak also. So in that realm, king wants to have the kingdom. Ketu wants to disintegrate it by creating indifference to the whole kingdom. तो इसलिए subjectively जब केतु आपके ऊपर प्रभाव करता है, it makes you lose interest in life. It actually wants you to find something else. So all the spiritual wisdoms जो होती हैं, the sages who have been able to comprehend the supreme truth or dharma, where they feel कि like the fact that कि यही सब माया है and there's a real world somewhere else, ये केतु की बुनियाद है. Ketu gives you that. If it is in sattva, if it is in rajasic, it can make you again it's a very critical planet. So it actually makes you criticize others again a lot, but with the idea of making everyone follow you, lose interest in what they're doing. So sometimes you come across people who will, suppose you want to invite or you meet somebody, and while you're having a conversation, you will realize that in the span of half an hour, they have probably said a couple of things which has made you lose value of what you have. That is Ketu. So Ketu's energy is to disintegrate you by somehow influencing you to lose the value of all that you have. If it is in tamasic mode, it actually is a worse, because a lot of psychological disorders, psychosis is because of Ketu. Ketu जब tamasic mode में होता है, फिर वो आपको influence करेगा कि you will totally detach yourself psychologically from this world and आप किसी और में चले जाएंगे. Sometimes you can go in a coma, you can go in a psychotic state and probably not be able to come back. Now ये जो 9 ग्रह हैं, जो 9 ग्रह हैं, इनके एक तरीके होते हैं आपके साइकी को इन्फ्लुएंस करने के लिए, आपको इन्फ्लुएंस करने के लिए. एंड I've noticed कि जब आप इनके बारे में जाने, suppose there are 2 ways I do it when I talk to my clients. One is कि just to get them familiar with the natures of these grahas. So suppose if you go anywhere, you can spot कि अभी वीनस की, अभी शुक्र की एनर्जी मेरे सामने है, अभी केतु की एनर्जी आ गई है, अभी सूर्य की एनर्जी आ गई है. So you can make, वो आपको, your consciousness has increased. Now you are not getting trapped by their forces. वो आपको seize नहीं कर रहे हैं. Now you are able to actually see it. If there is a person or there is an event that is taking place, you are able to decipher ये केतु है, ये राहु है, ये मंगल है. What it does is it keeps you separate. So your spirit, your Atman is separate. तो वो आपको मोक्ष दिया एक तरह का, मतलब you are able to keep yourself at a distance. So that is एक शांति मिलती है. Another thing is you can look at a horoscope, and then कभी-कभी when you look at the predictive aspect, suppose you are running a particular dasha or a particular bhakti or something. So I educate the individual about that graha, not with the idea that you should do something to appease but if you're able to download the nature of that non-physical entity, and if you're able to develop a rapport, एक तरीका होता है. So when I more and more, like for example, when you see a painting, and if someone comes and tells you about the painting, what it means, उसकी क्या हिस्ट्री है, क्या सिग्निफिकेंस है, suddenly your perception becomes more clear and you're able to connect to the painting. Now you know what it is. So now you are in a much better situation to act on it. So same thing about grahas. You become so familiar, then क्या होएगा ना कि जो कर्म है, so now they're influencing you, they're making you act, और वो कर्म बन रहे हैं because you are thinking you are doing it. इस knowledge से you realize कि अच्छा अभी मैं I will do it for your sake. So suddenly there is a spiritual awakening inside. You realize कि now if I behave in a certain manner, or if I institute a particular form of conduct in my life, it will somehow meet your needs, that particular graha's needs, and probably because a rapport has been built up, your negative traits towards me, if it is a natal chart, will reduce. So अगर वो तमसिक है या रजसिक है, because I am participating in my activity with this consciousness, slow and steady, my acts are actually influencing that graha in their realm. So even though at the point of your birth they were placed, situated in a particular fashion, जरूरी नहीं है कि they have to be always giving results that way. अगर आप you start consciously making different choices and charting your conduct, you actually change the dynamic. That's why in astrology, मेरे जो dad थे, he used to talk about prashna. So when you are born, आप जब पैदा होते हैं, you have a particular horoscope. After 40 years, when you ask a question, the answer to that question could be totally different from the way if that question had to be answered by looking at your natal chart. The logic was, मेरे dad ने मुझे बताया कि all throughout life, the way you're participating in your life with the kind of perception you have actually is influencing those grahas. So if you are aware about the grahas, you're aware about their influences on you, chances of you, your natural disposition would be to go on the sattvic. आप balance ही choose करेंगे, because you will start going with your sattvic mode over a period of time. Your natal chart also changes. That's why if you ask a prashna after 20, 30 years, like even can be even 1-2 years, the answer to the same query, if your natal chart is negative, because of your participation in karmic conduct, the answer would be actually positive, because the graha in the real time has changed its relationship towards you. It's no more behaving with you the way it behaved at your natal chart. So that's the most important part. Now, just last bit which I want to conclude is 3 benefits. अगर ये आपको knowledge मिले, suppose if you get this knowledge, क्या benefit है, क्या फायदा है? One is you are able to accept yourself. Suppose if you have a particular problem with the nature you have, or particular way you have been informed you are, or you have discovered something is not working because of your mindset, this knowledge will help you accept yourself. Why? Because you now realize कि वो मैं नहीं हूँ, वो ग्रह है. And because of that, there is self-love. There is self-love, there is self-acceptance and compassion hai. It's a very, very powerful change you can have in your life. Second level is your loved and near ones, family. So suppose if you know about how these grahas work, तो आपके, suppose your children, your spouse, your understanding about them will increase. So क्या होएगा कि आपकी जो relationship है, जो आपका अनुभव है, उनके साथ it will actually improve, makes a big difference. Third category of difference will be actual events. So the things which are occurring in your mind, I mean in your life, and probably the things that you're anticipating, क्योंकि now you have got this perception of the grahas, फिर जो भी होएगा ना, you will not fear कि वो हो रहा है, now what should I do and worry about that. Now you know जो हो रहा है, I know कौन कर रहा है. Just because you know that now, somehow there is a relief and there is hope, there is fortitude, there is wisdom. So on these 3 levels, your self-love, your self-acceptance, having a better understanding of your loved and dear ones, your children, spouse, parents, and actual general outlook towards life makes a very, very big difference in your overall experience of life. So that's how it works. So this is all I had to share with you. If you have any questions, I know I've extended up 7 minutes. I'm very sorry about that.
Thank you so much. It was really very, very interesting, very enlightening, and we really learned a lot. Now we'll open it up for questions. Any
Sure.
questions, anyone? Kindly unmute and ask your questions.
Yeah, Sajani, I have a few, I would say, clarifications.
Yeah, please go ahead
Ji.
and ask.
It was a very good talk, and particularly with the emphasis on the effect of Grahas on the mind. My first clarification is we live very closely, for example, with the spouse, and then elders, and then children. So there will be some influence of their Grahas on our Grahas and on us, is something what I want to know. That is my first clarification. Second one is if the speaker has time to say something about their influence on the health aspect. Those are the two clarifications.
Sure, Janaki Raman. मैं आपको I'll answer the first question. तो जो influence होता है between two jataks, two horoscopes, there are different ways of looking at it. Typically, traditionally one says कि हाँ, when you are in association, close association, especially emotional or mental association with somebody, it looks like chemistry. तो जो आप हैं and your body of grahas आपके जातक में है and that person's की body of grahas, when they come together, there is some result. कुछ तो होता है. There is some kind of thing that comes forward. No doubt in that. But still, I feel if you are more enlightened about your grahas and you kind of have a bit more awareness, chances of them influencing you to सवाल ही नहीं उठता ना, because if your grahas are not able to influence you because now you are able to see them, actually you will be able to better understand and see the influence of the other grahas. So because of that, अगर कुछ suppose negative कुछ outcome आना चाहिए, I think it might subdue. The second question is, I'm sorry, I forgot. The second question was?
It's on the health aspect.
About the health. Yeah, so like I told you, there are three ways grahas influence करते हैं हमारी life को. They influence three ways. One is events, one is our physical appearances, which include the physical health, and the mindset. Now, health के बारे में they do, suppose if you look at a horoscope, there are certain houses in a chart which represent if you will have any ill health, and then graha का अगर influence है, it tells you किस किस्म की, what kind of ill health will you have, or if you will be able to recover it due to what graha. So you can figure that out from horoscope.
There is a question by Mahalia. She says in the chat box, very informative. I would like to understand the influence of the grahas on my life.
Sure. For that, I will need the birth details. So, what I work with, I need accurate time of birth, the date of birth, and the place of birth. If you are very confident that you have them, then I can have a look at chart and probably see if I have something to say. And like I said at the beginning, कि मैं वो predictive aspect पे ज़्यादा concentrate नहीं करता हूँ, unless it is somewhere connected to your mind. If knowing the outcome can actually positively influence your mindset, then I will do it. Otherwise, जो मेरा approach है, it's more of coaching and counseling. So ऐसे करके we can have a conversation, and I'll really enlighten you with this whole graha system, how it is probably participating in your life. Sure.
The same person has asked, do you do individual sessions to uncover this, to give clarity on what has happened in my life? Ahalya, you can unmute and ask these.
Ji, I do that.
Okay.
Mostly I do that. Mostly I have
Okay.
one-to-one sessions.
Okay. Then there's one more question by Kala, Surya or Chandra.
I'm sorry, I missed out the question. I couldn't, you're not audible clear to me. If you could just say that again.
Will the grahas influence the name you hold? For example, Surya or Chandra?
नहीं, वो उसका ज़्यादा significance नहीं है, क्योंकि वो इस realm का है. Name जो actually it can get very complicated and complex है. We can really open up a rabbit hole. But जहाँ तक मेरी knowledge है, name का इतना फर्क नहीं पड़ता. People change their name, letter वगैरह, तो सूर्य या चंद्रा का कुछ ज़्यादा कुछ नहीं है influence.
So, she has asked for your telephone number.
Yeah,
We can put it on the chat box.
sure.
If you can put
You
it
want
on
me
the
to do
chat
it, or-
box, that'll be nice.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do it. And are there any other questions in the meanwhile?
Can I ask one more question or
About the book.
Yes, yes. Please ask, Mr. Janakiram.
Mr. Yadavindra,
Ji.
since you are also talking about, I mean, you from your bio, I saw about ego consciousness and soul consciousness, and then
Ji.
Atma. And my clarification or question is, some of the teachings, particularly some of the religious teachings, say that you go straight to Allah or Father in heaven or Brahman, and all these Graha influences. Why do you worry?
It's a good argument. That's why many religions prohibit the Jyotish, primarily because देखो अभी आपको ने राहु का भी बताया था ना, तो ये जो ज्योतिष विद्या है, ज्योतिष ईश्वर, so the vision of God, तो ज्योतिष का मतलब जो purpose था is to make the human being, जो मानव है, मानव को दिखाने के लिए कि क्या सब कुछ बनाया है, क्या सब कुछ है apart from you, which is influencing you, मतलब जो creation है. So just to know about that, what it does is ultimately जो goal होता है ना, when you know कि oh I have इतने ग्रह है और ये ग्रह मेरे ऊपर influence कर रहा है, अगर आप if you very keenly observe, if you are going to go on that line of thinking, you will not stop there. You see, after some time you will start wondering, oh, so if I have influence of this particular graha, then उस ग्रह को किसने बनाया? Then that means there is so much more in life. So ultimately it is to lead you to the same divinity. ये जो राहु है ना, like I told you, it disintegrates. So राहु की जो presence है, what it does is it twisted the ज्योतिष का जो purpose था. It twisted towards gratification. So now everyone wants to know मेरा क्या होएगा, what will happen, and what can I possibly do to turn around my fate. So Rahu is playing a very tricky, very smart role to disintegrating your spiritual growth. So that's why I think some religions totally prohibited that. And I feel I completely understand the sentiment behind that.
Yeah, your talk gave a lot of clarity, and we know Ragu and Ketu story from that when the Amrita was actually was churned and Amrita came, Rahu and Ketu came. They are actually Rakshasas. So I think your and crocodile example was very good. Gajendra Moksha, I could relate now with the crocodile example.
Exactly. Bilkul correct. That's how it is. If you, Janakiram, if you notice, you lived your life, you're so senior, you must have seen, many times we read in retrospect, we look, why did I do what I did? Why did I speak what I did? Why did I think the way I did? Because after some time, when a different graha comes in position, you start thinking ki bahut alag ho gaya. And then with a period of time, you in between, when you keep looking at yourself under the influence of different grahas, Atman, ultimately the Atman is there, no? So that consciousness begins to witness, and that's where these things, start occurring to us. So this knowledge, what it will do is it will put to rest of all the emotional baggage that we end up carrying. Suppose how I have been a certain way, or I have spoken, or whatever. If I have this understanding, first of all, it will relieve the baggage. Then I think, okay, it was not me as in my true self. ये जो भी था, ये graha, that graha was responsible for that. Not that it's not that you're removing yourself from responsibility, but actually getting more clear about why it happened the way it happened, so that as future goes, you'll be able to set things right. That's the whole idea.
That is going beyond prediction. Very good. I understood now.
Thank you so much.
Questions?
I would like to know the name of the book that you have written.
Yeah, I'll just type it on the chat as well.
Yes.
Beyond
And
prediction.
your phone number also.
Sure. Beyond
It's given.
prediction.
The phone number has been given on the chat. Please check.
Okay.
Okay.
Sajani ji,
Yes.
yeah, can I ask a question?
Please do. And there's one more on the chat. Okay, later. If you look at it, there's one question on the chat. But Gulu, please ask your question.
See, my question is that the Vedic astrology or the Indian astrology, which we are talking about, there is an effort to correlate it with Western astrology in some areas, especially the changes which they have been brought about in this millennium with regard to information technology, artificial intelligence, and other things. They have taken into consideration what are called as the other three planets of Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, which in some of the studies, they are calling it as Varuna, Indra, and Yamagraha. These are the terms that are being used. The do we say that the Vedic rishis could not perceive these grahas or the coming of these grahas into the domain of the planetary influence on Earth? Or is there a way of now bringing these two together, where we can incorporate these three grahas also into our Vedic astrological system?
It's a very good question. In fact, I used to have this question all the time and ask my father. और वो मेरे dad थे, he used to always say कि Neptune, Uranus वगैरह को तो you just neglect. It's not part of our system of astrology. But later on, when I did research and I did try to figure out, interesting thing now is astrology. Do you know where actually it originates? Can anyone give an idea of where astrology originates? Anyone?
Mathematics and astronomy, from the Vedic point of view, it is one of the Vedangas. Jyotish is considered to be one of the Vedangas, which is basically, my idea is it was more about astronomy rather than predictive or aspect of the astrology as it is practiced now.
Quite correct. But you'll be very surprised to know the origin of the thought to interpret the astronomical movements by figuring out the metaphysical meaning started from Persia. The Medes, there used to be the clan called Medes, Maga, और यहाँ पर Maga Brahmin भी होते हैं यूपी में. The Medes, Magi, the three Magis. So they were the clan who originally is known to possess the knowledge, and they had very in-depth knowledge. They were the one who could actually perceive these forces which I'm talking about as grahas. And that got exported to Greece. Greeks used it a lot, and they developed it a lot. Actually, at one point, Greeks, I think they really patronized this science, and they, really progressed. So, ये जो Uranus वगैरह जो है, it is all part of the system. Actually, उसके बाद it got imported to India as a full-fledged system, and then I don't know exactly why they disregarded the Uranus, Neptune वगैरह, but they instituted two grahas which are not known in the Western astrology, which is the Rahu and Ketu. So then the Indian sages, especially Varahamihira, so he used to be a very well-known mathematician and astrologer, and he has written many treatises. And a lot of subsequent schools have emerged from his findings, and so that's how it is. Yeah.
The other question is, they say there is a connection between our number system and the planets, because each planet is assigned a particular number, like 1 to sun and 2 to moon and so on and so forth. Do you find any reference exactly in the Vedic system where astrology and numerology are seen to be closely connected to each other?
So interestingly, मुझे numerology के बारे में I don't know such a history about where it originated and how it, but I know numbers have a direct connection to the 9 planets. There are 9 numbers. उसके बाद सब repeat होता है. So 1 to 9, and then comes 1 and 0. And of course, 0 doesn't have any value in Vedic astrology. 1 to 9, and no graha hai. So there is a correlation. And let me go further. ये जो grahas है ना, they influence everything that you're perceiving. Everything. आप अगर पानी देख रहे हैं, you're looking at a paper, you're looking at a TV, you're looking at a particular color, a shape. If you go in depth into Jyotish Shastra mein, everything is influenced by these grahas. So there is no number ka to point nahi, everything it influences. Now, the point which I feel to make is, हम क्या करते हैं ना, when we know, suppose a particular element is influenced by the graha, so that it becomes a medium, or a number becomes a medium, or a color becomes a medium, or a stone becomes a medium, we start wanting to manipulate it. We want to take advantage of that. हमारे spiritual understanding ये नहीं है कि जो grahas हैं उनको हमारे बारे में ज़्यादा मालूम है. तो when we try to do that, my assumption is they will take you along for some time, and then after that, ultimately, जो judiciary है, जो शनि है, so it will allow all the other grahas to influence. But जब वो आ जाएगा ना, it will make everything not work. So when we try to use numbers or letters or shapes or gems, it stops working. So coming back to the idea of developing your consciousness, your spirituality to build a direct rapport with them is a much safer bet about that. Now, जो palmistry है, that I know originated from India. In fact, the science of reading hands, and then that integrated with grahas subsequently originally came from India, because India mein there were many families who had ink description written on skin and kept for generations, and that was discovered by some practitioner from the West. और उससे फिर palmistry काफी पॉपुलराइज हो गई है. वो बहुत कनेक्शन है. तो अगर जो आपकी लकीरें हैं ना, वो भी इन्फ्लुएंस कर रही हैं, are being influenced by grahas.
Yeah, absolutely right. Because Chiron talks about having seen these.
Yeah, Chiron.
Skin. Some of these Hasta Samudrika, the details are written on skin. And I would like to profusely thank you, Yadavindra ji, for one important thing, is that you have brought to at least whoever is participating here, we should change our mindset from predictive astrology to positively submitting ourselves to the wisdom of the grahas. Because every time human mind, unfortunately, we try to manipulate things and try to derive some benefit out of it and some very mundane and personal benefit out of it. Instead of that, you have very beautifully brought out this idea of orienting ourselves to the wisdom of the grahas and acting accordingly. And I think Janakiriyamji was also referring to that because the whole idea is to become more and more evolved spiritually and become centers of influence of peace and harmony, rather than always trying to grab something for oneself at a very worldly level. So the mindset has to completely change from the predictive aspect of it, or trying to know what is good or what is bad or what I'm supposed to do. It's more a question of letting our life to act in accordance with the wisdom of the grahas which are acting on us.
Rightly said.
I thank you profusely for bringing that idea, because I have been holding this idea for a long time. Whenever people were talking about this, I said, see, you are actually reversing the whole process by trying to ask predictive things and what will happen to me in the future. Will I get this? Will I get that? Unfortunately, in South India, we find these people go and see, when will my daughter get married? When will my son get a job? When will they construct a house? When will they go abroad? All nonsensical things. These are some things for which we need to work.
Totally.
It needs to work. If I want to get a job, I need to work for it. I need to be able. I need to compete in this world and then be the best man so that I get the best job. Instead of that, I depend on this graha, that graha, doing puja to this or going to that temple. This mindset has to completely change. Then we will have the true meaning and influence of what the Vedic astrology talks about. I'm extremely happy that you are practicing that and you are promoting that idea.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Krishnavani-ji. And now, Mr. Chopra, there are two questions on the chat. One, of course, is a comment about your T-shirt. Would you like to read them?
Yeah. Someone has written about a lighter note. You're wearing a crocodile t-shirt.
And the crocodile on your
I
t-shirt, someone's commented.
It was just
सोचिए
on a lighter note. It was me.
Yes.
no,
Thank you.
it's so apt, and I can tell you it is your Mercury which is doing that. Yeah, Buddha hai. You notice things,
Okay.
you know, and you how beautifully you brought it. So I think it's very good.
Okay. But there's someone else, there's a question. What about nakshatra? How do they influence us? It is sometimes said, once one goes on the spiritual path, the planets stop influencing us.
So there are two questions. Pehla jo question is the first thing about nakshatra.
Yeah.
Nakshatra, again, it's a very detailed topic, but मैं आपको एक idea दूंगा. So grahas जो हैं, जो are in that realm of grahas, celestial realm, और उनके जो vehicles हैं, ये planets, तो ये move करते हैं. तो ये there is a construct of 12 signs, zodiac signs होते हैं. तो ये जो move कर रहे हैं, actually they are going through the zodiac signs. वो एक construct है, mental construct है जो sages could apprehend that is beyond our perception. Now, in those zodiac signs are embedded constellations, which are called nakshatras. So, क्या होता है when these planets are moving? वो nakshatra, one is that they're moving into that zodiac sign. वो जो zodiac sign है वो उनकी environment, it's the environment of that particular planet, which is getting connected to, which is being felt by the grahas in the celestial realm. So, it influences the grahas. Nakshatra influences even more. Actually, it makes a very profound. That's why when you get into predictive astrology, you have to look at the nakshatra of the graha. कि कौन सा nakshatra में है. If the nakshatra is friendly, then chances of that graha not troubling you increases. अगर वो nakshatra है which is not, it's not comfortable in it, कि अगर even if it is sattvic and benefic, वो फिर भी trouble में आ जाएगा, because the celestial जो ग्रह है in celestial realm will feel discomfort. उनका जो discomfort होता है, it will be felt on your life, in your life, like that. Second thing is about if one goes on spiritual path. Actually, that's exactly what I'm trying to do. Actually, जो मेरा अभी जो बोल रहे थे, he was talking about Mr. Advani, right? About correct. So Krishna Pani ji बोल रहे थे कि you instead of changing the mindset, instead of changing your activities to take the advantage of the knowledge of astrology, so from predictive to transcend and transit into philosophical. The philosophical domain of astrology is exactly what I'm talking about, where it kind of, you understand the philosophical understanding. So philosophical understanding क्या होती है कि ये जो ग्रह है वो क्यों है और क्या है, and what is it that I need to do with them. उसकी समझ, the why of that. अगर वो आ जाए तो then naturally they will stop influencing you in the sense that कुछ छोड़ देंगे वो, because then they realize कि you're not participating in their. It's like when you go to Vegas, when you participate in that act of the casinos, then casino becomes alive and it's going to keep you there. But suppose if you understand the whole philosophy, the whole gamut behind that, और आप enlightened हो जाएं, or then you just become a watcher, then उस casino को interest नहीं है आपको रखने में. It will release you. That's why a person on a spiritual path will soon able to see more and more clarity and feel released. उसको मोक्ष बोलते हैं.
Thank you. There are two more questions on the chat.
What is Chiron Star in
what
vedic
is Chiron
astrology?
Star? Yes. And how does it influence?
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know about the Chiron Star. I'm sorry. I'm not. I've heard about this, but मैंने कभी इसको इतना research नहीं किया, because I don't use that. What I've studied is only the 9 grahas and the 27 nakshatras. So मुझे Chiron के बारे में I may not be able to enlighten you today.
Okay. There's one more question. So does your date of birth connect with a particular graha, and does it correlate with the 9 grahas as discussed today?
Yeah, there is some reality to that. So numerology में, suppose if you are born the first of some month, naturally from the perception of numerology, we know कि सूर्य का प्रभाव है. But then that's not the only dimension, no? Because then you have to look at, one is your date of birth, that means on the day that you were born. And numerology, then you have to add that with the month and the year, and then you look at the life number. कि totality में वो क्या है? So suppose you could be born on 1 and then the other life number will be 2. So then you have sun and then you have moon influence. But then again, is that the only dimension? You look at the astrology, then that tells you a different story. You look at your palm, that is a different story. So I think it's all about somehow integrating and finding out. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions? Kindly unmute and ask. I don't think. All right. I'd like to tell everyone that Mr. Chopra also analyzes dreams. I've heard him speak earlier on dreams and what they mean. So maybe next time we can get him to talk to us on interpreting dreams and moving from dreams to reality. So thank you so much. It was really extremely interesting. And we're hoping that one day when the school reopens, you can come to the School of Ancient Wisdom and we can have a longer program. Okay. And now I request Malati to kindly propose a vote of thanks, followed by the Loka Samasta.
Right, Sajani. Thank you so much. At the onset, I want to thank the speaker and the very informative and interesting talk that we heard today. And you really did everything, I think, in your part to illuminate as well as take away a lot of doubts that were there or a lot of queries that were posed at the end. And we learned a lot, I must say. And I want to thank you very much. And I hope we will have another opportunity of hearing from you again. I'm sure Sajani will arrange for another program. And I'm sure everybody among the participants are also looking forward to that. And thank you, participants, for this wonderful interaction and the interest that you showed. I'm sure the speaker was also very thrilled to give you all a very good answer as well as satisfy your doubts. Thank you, Mr. Krishnapani Garu, also for giving us such a wonderful interaction between you and the speaker, because we heard a lot from you also, and we know how clever and how what a wonderful speaker you are too. So it was very interesting to hear this interaction. And let me also thank Swati, who has been our, our back support, technical support person today. And thank you very much, Swati. And Saju, as usual, was an excellent host. I would like to conclude by thanking the School of Ancient Wisdom also for arranging this wonderful talk and the opportunity that we have every Thursday of meeting and hearing such wonderful speakers. I would like to conclude at this point, and I request all of you to please stay muted as I chant the Loka Samasta. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat Brahma Paramastu.
Thank you, Malti. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. I'd like to remind you that next Thursday, we have Mr. Prasad, who will be talking on a very interesting subject, that is religious teacher versus spiritual guru. The posters come up, so do join us at 6:30 next week. And on, we also have other programs. We have the Bhagavad Gita by Mr. Krishnapani ji on Saturdays. And we have Swami Chidanand who speaks to us on Saturday evenings. So kindly join us. And thank you once again, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Chopra, for being with us. And we look forward to having you once again. Okay. Good night and all the best to everyone.